Geology is an unpredictable master, isn't it? One minute you're lying in bed, the next your bed is disappearing into a sinkhole. That's what tragically happened to Florida man Jeremy Bush on March 1st as a sinkhole opened under his house and his bedroom collapsed into it. You might think this is a relatively rare phenomenon, but in Florida it's so common that you have to get insurance against for your home. Ironically, Mr. Bush's home had just been checked for potential sinkhole damage just 2 weeks before, but no signs were spotted. Number 10. Cave of Swallows, Mexico. This amazing, cave-like hole has been known to locals since the dawn of history, but was only explored by outsiders in 1966. Caused by water erosion along a fault line. It is the largest known cave shaft in the world and at 370 m deep. It could fit the Chrysler Building into it. It's a popular spot for extreme sports fans. You can abseil down it in 20 minutes. Or jump with a parachute in 10 seconds. Only problem is, it takes an hour of hard, vertical climbing to get back out. So not one for amateurs. Number 9. Red Lake, Croatia. Another beautiful natural structure now, with this water-filled sinkhole near the city of Eskimo, Croatia. Named the Red Lake because iron oxide has colored the surrounding cliffs a red-brown color. It is 530 m deep and is the third largest in the world. It's also home to a rare species of fish known as deterministic persuader. This fish has occasionally been found in neighboring lakes and streams, suggesting that there is some kind of underwater passage between this lake and others. Number 8. Xiaozhai, Tiankeng, China. One of the deepest sinkholes in the world, at 662 m with near vertical walls, Xiaozhai Tiankeng was formed when the carbonate rock was eroded by rain and washed away, leaving a huge chasm in its place. Tiankeng is a word in Chinese that refers to an especially large sinkhole, and can mean heavenly pit or sky hole. It's a pretty amazing tourist attraction, and almost untouched. Worth a visit for keen geologists. Number 7. Macungie Sinkhole, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was recently named one of 7 states most at risk of sinkholes. And the 1986 appearance of this sinkhole in the village of Macungie is a good example of why Pennsylvanians should be very worried about that. At lunchtime on June 23, a section of road just collapsed, leaving a gaping hole 87 feet across and 41 feet deep. Luckily, no one was driving on that stretch of road at the time and so no one was hurt. Had it happened a few meters away, near the houses, it would have been disastrous. Number 6. Bimmah, Oman. After an inconvenient, messy sinkhole like the Pennsylvanian one, it's nice to know that sinkholes can still be things of beauty. This one, dubbed world's most stunning sinkhole by a British newspaper, is in Oman and measures 40 m wide. Tourists flock to see it and take a swim in it, aided by steps cut into the rock. Apparently, it also contains tiny fish that will nibble swimmers' toes, in a similar way to a fish pedicure. A foot-nibbled outdoor swim in a sinkhole. It would certainly be a memorable one. Number 5. Daisetta, Texas. From the sublime tourist attraction to the sinkhole that just can't quit, this hole opened up in Daisetta, Texas, on May 7, 2008 as a 20-foot hole. But it was a hungry one. And kept growing and growing, swallowing everything that got in its way. By the next day, it was 600 feet across and 260 feet deep. Daisetta is an oil town, and geologists speculate that it was a byproduct of oil production that caused the hole. Oil production causes a saltwater residue, and as Daisetta sits on a salt dome, storing the water caused the ground to collapse. Number 4. Bereniki, Russia. This is another sinkhole that doesn't know when to stop. It first appeared in 1986, but is still growing and is now more than 200 m deep. Again, it's a natural phenomenon, but a man-made cause, in this case mining. The small town of Bereniki began as a labor camp, situated directly above the mine that the workers were working on. It is now extremely prone to sinkholes and cracks appearing, and local residents are worried that the town might vanish into the many holes in the area. The problem is that mining weakens the natural structure of the earth, and then a small flood would cause it to collapse entirely. And that's what's happened in Bereniki. Number 3. Guatemala City, Guatemala. Another man-meets nature disaster. And this was not in the middle of the countryside or on a quiet crossroads, this was in the middle of the city and in one of the poorest quarters of the city. Guatemala City is largely built on uncemented volcanic ash and limestone, and when a sewer ran across the space, it eroded it to the point of collapse. The hole that opened up was 100 m and sadly 5 people were killed. 1,000 people were evacuated from the areas as well. Number 2. Great Blue Hole, Belize. Meanwhile, here's another one that's a beautiful natural phenomenon, rather than a disastrous mess. This underwater sinkhole is actually a limestone cave that was formed in the last ice age and can be seen above the water due to the sharp change in the water color around the hole. It is 1,000 feet across and 400 feet deep and is part of the bigger lighthouse reef, 70 kilometers from the shore. The Great Blue Hole was made famous by Jacques Cousteau when he named it as one of the top scuba diving sites in the world. He also measured the hole from his ship, the Calypso, and brought back stalactite samples in 1971. Number 1. The Qattari Depression, Egypt. Now this is a sinkhole on another scale. Measuring 50 miles by 75 miles, it is unimaginably big and almost entirely filled with sludgy quicksand. It is currently part of the Qattari Depression project, a long-term plan to flood the area and provide hydroelectric power from it. The ambitious project involves channeling through from the Mediterranean and would eventually result in a salt plain, once all the water had evaporated. Although the plan is ambitious, it is not new. Back in 1957, the CIA proposed flooding the depression as a means of achieving peace in the Middle East. Geology is an unpredictable master, isn't it? One minute you're lying in bed, the next your bed is disappearing into a sinkhole. That's what tragically happened to Florida man Jeremy Bush on March 1st as a sinkhole opened under his house and his bedroom collapsed into it. You might think this is a relatively rare phenomenon, but in Florida it's so common that you have to get insurance against for your home. Ironically, Mr. Bush's home had just been checked for potential sinkhole damage just 2 weeks before, but no signs were spotted.